Welcome to Refined Resilience. I'm your host, Carrie Hill, and on this podcast, we highlight the small moments that shape our journey toward greatness and remind us that resilience isn't linear. Each episode features stories of perseverance and the little victories that often go unnoticed, illustrating that resilience is about finding strength in everyday life. Well, hello, everyone. I am thrilled to bring to you yet another amazing guest. They just keep coming. I feel so blessed. We have here today Tom Telford. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
How's it going?
So good.
I'm going to read just a little bit about Tom. For those of you that don't know him, he's pretty impressive. So he's an entrepreneur with 25 plus years of business experience. He built companies in the institutional financial services industry and later exited after his firm was acquired by Arthur J. Gallagher in 2018. Tom runs an investment holding company with assets in commercial and residential real estate, venture capital, private equity, intellectual property, consumer goods, and healthcare. Just a few things. You know, no big deal.
ChatGPT wrote this, by the way.
In 2021, he co-founded LEVO,
like Lego with a V.
Okay, LEVO.
Yeah, LEVO.
A mind care company, and currently he serves as the CEO. LEVO provides primary mental health care, including assessment, diagnosis, and treatment for various mental health challenges. Tom is the host and co-host of two podcasts, Lift and Make Lighter, LEVO, which is awesome, and Brainstoke, which is also a great podcast. So, Tom, you have a master's degree in organizational leadership from Gonzaga University. That's awesome.
I do.
Go Gonzaga.
Yes, for sure. I am LDS/Jesuit. Universalist. I don't know what
You're
I am.
open.
Yeah, that is true.
You're open.
I am open. Yes.
Tom, thank you so much for being here. What an impressive resume to share with people. That's exciting.
That's kind of you. Yeah. I mean, these are moments when I hear that stuff and I think I'm old.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really old.
No, seasoned. I prefer to say seasoned.
I am seasonably resilient.
I like it.
I don't know, but thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to spend time. And to be honest, humbled to be able to share a little bit about me. It's unique and a cool opportunity, which I'll share more about.
Please do. I love it. Well, it's always fun to have podcast host on as the guest because it's that flipping the tables that's really fun. And, we get to talk about different things and you get to give different insights. And so, Tom, we were talking before we came on about the time that we've known each other. And it's really only been about a year and a half, maybe 2 years that we've been connected. And I mentioned how much I've appreciated the evolution of you. And your brand, right?
Oh, my brand.
The Tom Telford brand.
What is my brand?
On social.
Is it middle-aged man in spandex?
Yeah. And a bike. Yes.
And a bike.
No, I don't remember how we got connected, but it doesn't matter because the energy that you have brought into my space and my life has been so positive. And I love the work that you're doing to showcase to people that mental health, all components of mental health can be transparent and you can talk about them and be safe talking about them. And it's okay to share them with the world.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to just dive into this space because of your work in mental health and also your business, which is a broad spectrum mental health effort.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about why it's important for you to share the message of transparency in mental health challenges.
I think that's the only way to unlock people's ability to feel safe, right? So we live in an environment, in a culture where depending on your family upbringing, your religious background, your culture, your scaffolding of your life is really what drives your ability to feel safe, to share who you are, what's going on in your life. And there are a lot of people who are not in a situation where they feel safe to truly share what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And to be frank, I'm at a position in my life now where maybe because of the gray hair that's coming in and just being older, where I feel a little more comfortable in my own skin. But I would be lying if I didn't say that my socioeconomic status, right? My gender, my nationality, my all the things, right? I am that person who is afforded, in many cases, the most empowerment to share what's really going on. And so I have to, in gratitude, recognize that I have the ability to do that. And I'm not going to be attacked online or discounted online, or someone's going to take a stance against me at work or at home or at, my social, setting that I, find safety in. So I recognize in saying this out loud, right, that I have the ability to say the things I say and to act the way that I do, that some don't have, that opportunity. And so I want to speak openly about that and why I believe that being in the situation that I am requires stewardship. That being in the spot that I am is a responsibility to do and say and act in a way that is going to give credence and honors the people that have come before me. So I'm going to speak very openly today about women.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you. Part of the reason that I wanted to come
Absolutely.
on is your work that you do with women's empowerment. And so I want to speak to that. I also want to speak to, just others who are unfortunate in our society in one way or another, and why they need people to stand and speak and to see and recognize them.
Tom, I so value everything that you've just said. First of all, I want to say thank you for the recognition that you just gave yourself in having the socioeconomic status and the background and the ability and the accessibility that you've been afforded. I think this is so lost when we talk about mental health in general, is that, people that are living, under welfare, people that are living close to the poverty line, like this is not something that's afforded to them in such a large and accessible way, right? It's very challenging to get help when you're on Medicaid or Medicare and you right and you don't have an alternative. So I really appreciate that you said, I want people to talk about it so that people that may not have access to this feel supported, feel safe, and just saying like, yeah, I need help too. Right. And I think that translates a lot into the work that you're doing right now to aggregate mental health networks together. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that.
There's so much there, right? I mean, there really is. Let me just share maybe a story to kind of frame, where maybe the dialogue can go and why I feel strongly about the way that I do. So I started a company, sold it, doubled down, did it again. And in 2015, you read my bio, my partners and I rode their coattails, to be frank. I was the junior of the three. And one of them was a woman who was, to this day, she's the most successful woman I've ever met. No one necessarily would know her name publicly, but in terms of the financial services space that we were in, if she had chosen to submit her name for the awards nationally, terms like top of the table, court of the table, $1 million round table, this woman would have been in the top 1%, no question, by all standards.
Amazing.
She was amazing, but you know what? She was a better woman. She was as committed to lifting others, in poverty. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And she, we built schools in Guatemala and all these other places. So, and then my other business partner was equally as generous in giving. And when we sold the company in 2015, it was an opportunity for us to be frank and to be transparent and honest. It changed my life. I mean, financially, it was an entirely different, experience for me to be in that situation. And so one of the things that occurred the day that I recognized it was literally the day that this event took place. I was in my home office. I logged in, and I'll give you the short version, but I logged in to recognize the liquidity event, the dollar amount in my brokerage account that day. And that day for 3 hours, I had several revelations sitting in my home office. But one of those was after kind of this moment of pride and like, I did this. And I won't spend a lot of time discussing it, but I was the kid growing up, unable to learn, unable to sit still. I was called out of class by mentors, tutors. I was the slow kid. And so there was a moment that day of selling a company where I felt this great pride and joy, and to be frank, arrogance of selling a company. And yet in that moment, as soon as like my pride had calmed down, something just hit me over the head. And it was, Tom, you didn't get here alone. Self-made is a lie. And it was this strong feeling almost of like, reprimand. But in that moment, what I recognized is, and I asked myself the question, how did I get here? For a kid who just was not smart, 17 on the ACT, a punk in school, like, how did I get here? And what ended up happening is that I made a list of all of the people who made all the difference. What's interesting is, an hour of making a list of all the people who made the difference, I went back through it and there were 2 or 3 key things that stood out to me. Number one, the people who were brutal to me were as important as those who were kind. I had put so many chips on my shoulder from people saying things like, you're not smart, you're stupid, you're athletic, but you'll never have any intellect, right? I all these people were on my list, but those chips of anger were just as important in what I had scaffolded a life about. The second thing that was really interesting was, as I reviewed the list, I was shocked that just overwhelmingly, as I looked at the people on the list and then what they had taught to me, it was amazing how the key turning points in my life of self-belief were women. Just overwhelmingly. Amazing men. My dad's amazing business mentors, but the really key points of just turning points. You used a term earlier, which we can come back to, about paradigm shift.
Yeah.
But in the moment, that day in my office, when I recognized the quote, American dream of having a lot of money, more than I had ever had or dreamt I'd have, I had a paradigm shift. And it was, number one, these are the people that made all the difference. Mentors got me here. I was not self-made. I was built by amazing humans.
Ooh, I love that. Say that again. Not self-made.
I was not self-made. I was built by amazing humans.
I love that. I was built. I love that.
I was built. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I was scaffolded.
Yeah.
I sat at the feet of amazing people for years and years. And yes, I listened and I was engaged and I applied it, but I was still incredibly mentored, right? Before I move on to women, let me just say this. If you have been mentored by, even if people that made you angry, I had coaches that I'm like, to this day, they make my blood boil. But I needed their rough, I needed their tough feedback. And so even though I hated it, you need it. Yeah. You need grit, right? You just do. And you need gritty people in your life. So that was really important to just kind of think back, on the mentors of that time. And so let me just pause there and say this. Imagine growing up where you have nobody who will even coach you negatively. Just zero.
Just nothing.
Just no one to even give you a vision or to give you feedback or say, no, kick the ball this way. Or imagine growing up until you're an adult where no one takes an active interest to help you become more than you are.
Yeah.
That's everywhere in the US.
Yeah.
If you're my color, it's everywhere, right? There's a system for helping you be coached up. Even if you're a junior jazz kid and you can't pay your fee to be on the team,
someone
will fund it.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not going to overstate it, because it is often stated that if you are certain things in society, you have a free pass.
Advantage, yeah.
You do. But I'm just telling whoever's listening that I would not have gotten where I am today without people taking an active interest in me, or their job was to do it, right? School teachers who are paid to be there and to teach, right? And we often, school teachers take it on the chin right now, what they're asked to do and what they're
big time.
These are people, come on, who go to work every day building humans.
Yeah.
Right? They are scaffolding the humans of the future. man, we don't support them like we should. So that was a moment of just, I am a product of some amazing humans that build me. Number 2, women. This was a huge moment for me. I've never felt like I disrespected women. I love my wife. I love my mom, my mother-in-law. Like in that moment, that day, recognizing who are the women on this list and what did they actually teach me, I could get super emotional. That was all the difference, right? You can't learn intellect or even athletic ability, all of those things. You don't absorb skills and attributes and talents the way that you need to without first some self-belief. And the self-belief moments of my life were all women. They just were, you know? I was built by a lot of cool people growing up, but from my mom to a couple school teachers who were women to my mission president, I served in LDS mission, my mission president's wife, to then coming home, my mom again, my spouse, my mother-in-law, it's largely women. So what does that mean when you have this moment of like, I'm now wealthy and on my list is mostly women who made the biggest differences. What do you then do?
What did you do?
A number of things, but let me just say this. The paradigm shift in that moment was, does my behavior align with what's really on this list? How am I really honoring these people? So the first thing that actually happened, I'm not going to state it openly if that's okay, because it's relatively sacred. I'll just say this. I legally changed my name.
Wow.
Yeah. The second thing that I did is I made a promise that if I was going to build another company, it would largely look feminine. So today, go look at LEVO's website, LEVOmind.com. You tell me what you see, right?
Well, and this was such an impressive conversation that we had around that when you introduced me to LEVO. And truthfully, like Tom, my heart was very moved by that. I mean, it's the honor that you are giving and the respect that you are giving to women in this space is really, it's a beautiful thing to see.
That's kind of you, but I hope, you're the PR pro, right? This is not PR.
No.
This is real.
Yeah.
Because when you think about LEVO and how it began, which I won't go through the whole story, but it was largely women who developed it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, I was the investor. Yes, I'm the CEO today. But in truth, when LEVO, continues to grow, and it is, like our growth plan is awesome, but when you really, know what's going on behind the scenes, it is largely female driven. And I just want to say that, so when we talk about it being feminine, it's because that's what is real, right? So when I look at my list, that's what's real. And I think right now in society, there's kind of this feeling of like, people want to do more PR about women or their power and all of those things. I think it's all good. But it's only good because it's real. My business partner, who was a woman, she didn't get to where she was because she was female. She got to where because she was awesome. It's just real. Like she was really good at what she did. It didn't matter her gender. She was just awesome.
Good at what? Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to ask you questions about that today. I'm going to turn host on you in a minute. Because I think that men in general right now, we really want to be part of the solution for women feeling empowered. And I think we stumble because we don't know what to say. If we're overly charismatic or engaging with women, is that flirting? Right? It's just, I'm awkward, on how to do that and navigate that the right way. But I believe in my very core and in my heart, the right thing to do is to elevate women because the human race has been elevated by them. Literally built, mentored, coached, mothered, right? Not mothered as in female, mothered as in the person who scaffolded your life. That is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Tom, I really value that. And I thank you on behalf of so many other women who I'm sure if they are listening right now, value that statement also. I think I appreciate the real, because the cover, if you will, of being in support of women, but you being the primary outlet, you being the primary face, you being the person that's out advocating for women instead of allowing the women of the company to advocate for the company for themselves. It's a huge difference. And to me, and this is personal opinion.
Yeah.
I believe that if you are going to lead and advocate for women, women should be the spokesperson for that thing. I believe that with my heart, right? And it can be funded, it can be backed, it can be supported, you can be the male leadership. But if it's focused around women themselves, then women need to see women speaking to them from that space, from that direction. And I think that's very sacred space. You know, women have, and I love that you are hyper focused on women in this space, because I think, Tom, women bring something different to mental health. There's an understanding, there's a compassion, there's an empathy, there's a nurturing quality where we don't want to sit a lot in that space of the challenge. We want to be helpful in how we fix it. How do we fix it? How do we nurture it? How do we love it? Right? Yeah. So that we can heal it. And so I think that's a different narrative than most men have when it comes to nurturing mental health as almost like a child, you know, that it's this other thing that you have to figure out how to navigate through and to love and to care for and to figure out how to live with it safely, you know. And when you're a mom and you've got kids that are struggling, if your spouse is struggling, your mom is struggling, you are already the caretaker in that space as a generalized statement, you know, and you approach it differently. It feels differently. It just is a different journey. Women have a different journey. And so we need male allies. Tom, 100%. We need each other. Yeah. Men and women need each other, you know? But I am a fan of listening to a woman who has an authentic journey with that thing and knowing that I feel connected to her. Whereas I might feel connected to you, but it's slightly different. It's slightly less real, right? Yeah. Because we just speak a different language. We have different emotions and different feelings and different ways of approaching, and we support each other more naturally anyway. I think women do. We congregate to each other, you know? Yeah. But what I love about the work that you're doing is that you are recognizing that, as you just stated, and you're saying, this is the heart of mental health as we know it. These women have built beautiful practices, beautiful relationships with people. They are the business, you know, and without them, we don't have this business, you know? So I love that.
We don't. I mean, that's just the truth. We don't have the capability to build a dynamic mental health business that drives better outcomes unless you have people who are sitting with those in pain, who speak compassion and the ability to do that well. Yeah. And so the mental health space is a space where, you know, and granted, there are organizations chasing profit. Why? Because there's so much need. But in reality, if you're committed to better outcomes, you better have really good people who can sit, connect, and hold the pain of others while they go through it. Yeah. And it just so happens to be that there is a lot of women who have that capability because of their own experience, whatever that may be, but especially if they're a mom, that is literally what it is, right? And so the other three owners of LEVO today are women with their own mental health stories. And I won't share all of them. I'll just say this, from abuse to really heavy parenting to their own journey with disordered eating and anxiety. Of all the people that you would want to sit with those facing their toughest days, dark days in mental health, it is women who have sat in it and been there. Yeah. And so it's just right. It's the right thing for the business to do. And so it's intentional, you know, that it was built that way. Having said all of that, I have to say this just as a business person who's been an entrepreneur, owned companies. The company that I sold in 2015, by 2015, the prior, you know, since 2003, 12 years roughly, this is not a lie. It sounds like it's extreme. I probably sat in 3 I don't know, but 3,000 to 5,000 board meetings. Okay. So traveled 100 business nights a year, sat in lots and lots of board meetings. Unequivocally, the most dynamic organizations who are trying to position themselves not to be profitable short-term, but long-term sustainable success. The boards of directors who stood out in all of those organizations had at least half of their board members were women.
Love that.
So just think through that. I mean, this is just my viewed experience of sitting consulting with boards of directors when the organization was committed to long-term sustainable success, not position it and sell it and dump it, but just long-term sustainable success. They elevated and valued women's voices on those boards. And it sounds like men were giving it to them. No, these were women who were just assertive in saying, we are the ones who are going to dynamically help run and lead this company. It was obvious. It was incredible, you know? And so their ability, I'm not saying this because women have been mothers, so they're good at mental health.
Sure.
Women are good in business because they bring a different lens and approach, much more likely to sit and listen to understand than to create an environment where they can always be listened to. Totally different power dynamic, right? Well, the future of business today, if you sit and kind of watch and hear what's going on, if you're a leader who doesn't have the ability to sit and listen and ask good questions and engage everybody who's on the bus, you're going to die. The organization has no future. So who is going to build those organizations' culture where the best listeners, the most compassion for all the team members is all validated? Those are just the attributes that are often naturally built and scaffolded by women.
Agreed.
So I could preach about that forever, but you know, when I sit and think about the future of business as an investor, as someone who's like, where is things going? I actually just spoke to Weber State University's, one of their graduating class groups. And I told that group, they're like, give us some advice. What are you thinking? And I said, if you're a woman right now and you want to be dynamic and have an incredible run as a career, women are never been more well-positioned to lead organizations than today.
It's exciting, actually. It's so exciting. Tom, I've had that. I've mentioned this with other guests too, but I think this, we're seeing this dynamic, I don't know if it's a shift, but it's definitely a leaning, right? We're seeing a dynamic leaning for women to just come into the space and own it. It's like, we're not waiting for permission. And I specify this state specifically because it's so culturally affiliated with, really deep traditional kind of roles and values. And I think it's really beautiful that we're starting to see this, not only the younger demographic of women whose journey is quite different actually than my age, of women coming into business. And it's really exciting to see this leaning toward just stepping into this feminine power and understanding that there's a place for it, and that the harmony of both masculine and feminine power is actually the pinnacle of business. It's the pinnacle of life. It's the pinnacle of relationship. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to see in our specific, economy here in Utah, is that we are seeing more women come into that space. Do we have a lot of work to do with women's issues and children's issues in the state? Oh my gosh, it's yes, right? Yes. But if we focus on the beautiful energy that's happening, I think it keeps us so much more hopeful that those issues will be and can be addressed. And we're asking our male allies to come and build it with us. Help us. We need your help, right? We're not sitting above you. We're not sitting below you. We're trying to sit right at the equal level at the table with you and really create something beautiful.
I love that. I'm smirking because one of my wife's favorite quotes from RBG, was we're just asking men to, take their foot off of our neck and allow it.
And
that's a beautiful sentiment for you to share. And I believe that, I really do, that a more dynamic organization has all parts.
Yeah.
It just is, because organizations were built for people and to serve people, regardless of who your client, customer, patient is. You have to be able to address all of the demographics. And so that just makes sense, right? That you would have a very demographic who's helping lead the organization. So
yeah. I really appreciate that. And speaking of that kind of organizational body and having all of the moving pieces and both energies allowed in that space to function well, I really love the post that you've been sharing, Tom, of just scaling back the masks of mental health for your family, and here is all of that energy, and here's all of the scaffolding and building. And I mean, your family is the first business, right? The most important business that you could ever have. And so building it and allowing for those expressions within your own family construct is so important. So I'd love to hear your experience with that as a parent and how you are building your family so that they can address the things that they need to in harmony.
Wow. That's, there's so much there. And I kind of smile and smirk because, when I think about our family and our children are byproducts of us.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are byproducts of our upbringing and our parents and our families and, our, systems, so to speak. For our listeners, just to share this, my wife is a marriage and family therapist. So by trade, by, background and professional, history, she is a marriage and family therapist. But what's interesting is that when I sold the company in 2015, I was just ready to be present in my own life. I want to ski and ride bikes. And to be honest, it was a vision of just a lot of selfish, time and to be present with my kids, in their own lives. I was gone a lot. Right. So just sidebar for the entrepreneurs maybe listening in, you don't get past the toll booth.
Yeah.
Of entrepreneurship. If you're going to build something great, it's going to take deposits out of you. It just is. I mean, it's part of it. And the
people around you too.
Yeah. It did. Last night, joking with my oldest son, who's 23, just got engaged. I'm so happy for him.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's great.
He's stoked about it. But my wife asked him, is your memory that dad was gone a lot? That I was a single mom. And he's like, well, yeah. It's true, And so anyway, she became a therapist. And part of the reason she became a therapist after I sold was that we now had the ability to just be in that situation where she could focus on school and go back and get her master's degree and chase that. Again, just sidebar again. What families are in a situation where someone can just say, well, I just have enough now. So you go chase school. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know because I've never been in that situation, Tom.
We've been fortunate.
Yes,
I'm just
beautiful.
stating it out loud that I recognize
thank you.
That we have had opportunities that others haven't. We have been fortunate for that. I mean, it's just true.
But what I love about that recognition is that you use the word steward. And sorry, not to get off track, but the word steward and stewardship is so significant. It's a weighty word.
Yeah.
It has, for me, it's a very great responsibility when you say I have stewardship over this because I have had the ability to make an impact. And I really appreciate that you are stepping into that space of really saying, yeah, I could have gone skiing and I could have spent, and you do, and you still have that part about you, but you've also you've brought it into harmony, and you've said, I can actually do both. I can do good and I can create good and I can make good money at the same time.
Yeah.
None of these things have to be separate from each other.
For sure.
And I really appreciate that stewardship that you've taken over your experiences and your desires, and the paradigm shift of recognizing where your heart was sitting, you know, and then doing something about it. I have so much respect for people that just say, I recognize it and now I'm going to do something with it. And I just love that.
Yeah. I mean, build and bless, right?
Yeah, I love it.
This is the whole concept, right? That is so key. And so in that moment where We now had the opportunity for her to chase her dream to become a marriage and family therapist. The reason that was the dream is because she herself has a really strong mental health story. So incredible family, upbringing, but here in Utah, raised definitely a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Definitely, struggling and striving for worthiness and to be, good in God's eyes, all this stuff, right? Like she was part of just the cultural upbringing, but she also had as a tendency in her perfectionism to be obsessive about, am I good? How good am I? Am I worthy? Right? Went on an LDS mission. She served for 8 weeks, she calls it. I had an 8-week mission in the MTC, and then my health went to pot.
Wow.
Diagnosed with OCD, anxiety, all the stuff. So our marriage began with a mental health story of OCD and anxiety. And we would have not known at the time that 20 years later, Trevor Farnes, who's the CEO of Mount Knox, would say this.
Yeah.
You're most appropriately positioned to serve the person you once were. Right?
Agreed.
We are in the mental health space today, not because this is a great investment. I assure you, it's like, what are we doing? Right? But we believe that our own mental health journey and the knowledge and the education that we gleaned to get and cope with what we were dealing with changed our lives.
Yeah.
We got through it, right? We became resilient, but we had to sit in the hard for years of figuring it out. And so now today, of all of the things that we could spend money on and invest in, wouldn't it just be the right stewardship decision to say, we are most equipped to serve the people we once were, those who are struggling. So when we think about her going to a therapy practice and sitting with the 20-year-old girl who just flew home from her mission after 3 months and can't figure out why her brain won't turn off.
Yeah.
As a husband, as a spouse, as an investor, when my wife comes home and says, I sat with a girl in her lowest moment today and I think she's going to be okay, I'm like, there's no better place for our time and money and capital and risk and all this stuff. Like this is the stuff you're supposed to do when you have been afforded opportunity to be in this spot. So how are we dealing with mental health in our own family? It's hard, know, but when I post online, I want people to know this. They may be thinking white, male, entrepreneur, liquidity events, nice shoes, maybe decent hair. Like it must be his kids that don't have it together. Right? I'm not going to say it all, but my wife, anxiety and OCD, right? My own ADHD. I could spend hours on ADHD.
Which is why you're an excellent entrepreneur.
It's so freaking scattered. It's unbelievable. But I have tools. I've learned tools. I'm in a position that I am because of all the things I've discussed. I had a good system. If you don't have a system around you and you have ADHD, your outcome is entirely different.
You're an
You're none. And most likely you're a really good alcoholic and you may gravitate towards drugs. Why? Because if you don't have tools and you don't have a system to help you, then you have to cope somehow. So you either do the things that help you get the serotonin, endorphins high, you get high, right? So when people think, oh, drug addicts, losers, no, they're trying to cope with life.
Totally.
And they don't have a system to support them. So I'm passionate about that. Like we're in the position we are to deal with our mental health stuff because we have tools and resources, but there are lots of people who don't have the ability to get the help that they need. So again, going back, when I post online, don't assume that this is my children struggling. My wife and I have our own stuff. We've had to figure out our own journey. We have our own diagnosis. We now know because of our diagnosis, right? We started very early on with our own children. What is the likelihood of them having some? Pretty high. So we better look and approach what they're going to need sooner and earlier. And without naming names, I have a son who has a very similar mind and brain. You know, if I could have gone back to his age and learned differently like he is, and had the tools and the resources, I literally believed until I was 19 and a half that I was stupid.
Wow.
That sounds emotional, but I mean, I'm not even joking. I literally believed that my brain wasn't capable of reading words, right? Number one, read them right, because I have dyslexia. You know, I read backwards to this day. I don't go to the front of a page and read front to back. Why would you do that? That's weird.
Right.
I read from the bottom right up.
Right. Which is so genius. I mean, it's so, I have a hard enough time just reading the words in the correct way, you know, like I think the ADHD, the mind is so crazy. And all of these things that we want to consider to be negatives against us, if we have that tool set and we have those people that are building that scaffolding, boy, you just learn how to lean into them and use them, you know?
School crushed me, but the very attributes that made it hard for me to sit in a chair and learn and read books and take tests and do all this stuff as a kid, those very same attributes have allowed me to have the foresight to see ahead, right? What am I investing in today that's 3 steps ahead, right? I mean, so the ADHD mind, is it a gift? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would never, you know, give it up because it's allowed me to be where I'm at. But if you're a young kid and you're having to deal with the system and the process the way that it is, it's tough. And so we just feel fortunate to be in the position that we are. But if I went online and I posted all the good of my life, people would think entrepreneur, liquidity events, whatever, has it all together. I just built this amazing home, my dream house that stares at Snow Basin Ski. Like if I just posted that stuff, people would believe charmed life. But in reality, what? All of the struggle and hard that I battled with growing up and my wife did, that positioned us to do what we're now doing and have accomplished. So in Brainstoke, one of the podcasts that I'm on, we reference the term struggle and stoke. And just so that people start to recognize it is the struggle that allowed you to get to the point where you're stoked, right? I mean, the struggle that, you know, to become resilient means, in my definition of resilience.
Which is great. I was going to ask you, so you beat me to it.
I'll say this, you know, I grew up ski racing. I spent a lot of time on the bike, which is why, you know, which is horrible, middle-aged man in spandex. Like what could be more?
But the angles are always good. It's always looking down at your bike or your, you know, it's like just barely.
It's like hiding all of my midriff, right? But I learned young that to become resilient really means time in frustration. How much time are you willing to lean into and spend in doing hard things? And we know it athletically, right? You just can't get fast or strong or do whatever you want in sports unless you intentionally do hard things at practice all the time. That's literally how you become better at something, is to lean into stressors of you know, whatever your workout is. Well, the same is true in life, in business, in a marriage, in parenting, that your ability to build resilience is to lean into doing hard, which is the opposite of human nature. Pain says run or stop doing that.
Too hard. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's too hard, right? And yet we know that leaning into the very stressor is going to allow us to become stronger and better. And so when I think about my definition of resilience, when I think about where I'm at today, it has been my journey to become more comfortable and leaning into being okay with doing hard.
Boy, doesn't that make all the difference in the world, though, when you can accept that? When you, like, for me, Tom, you know, we've had the conversation a little bit about my background and where I came from and what were the hardest, most challenging points in my life. And they've all happened within the last 10 years of my life, you know? And boy, when I said this at an earlier interview with Nikki Walker, and I just have held on to it because it felt so good to say it, but I said, when you're in resistance, you can't be resilient because you're not accepting that the circumstances are what they are. And once that acceptance happens, now it's not to say accept it and just stay there, right? It's to say, I accept the challenge and I see that this is hard. And yet I'm going to walk through it because on the other side and through this journey
that's so
is
good.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Right. And so that for me, that has been the biggest challenge for me in understanding for myself what resilience means to me. And I think surrendering to the fact that the challenge is present, it's here, it's happening.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what is right now, but that's not what is forever. Right.
100%.
So I really appreciate that, about building the resilience as you go through it. It is every single day, those little moments that you allow yourself to accept that it is what it is, because in that moment, you are completely in control of what happens next in your little path for yourself. And so, I really, and I think to come full circle back to, our kids and women in our society, there's a lot of discussion and there's a lot of what am I trying to say? There's a lot of banter, I guess, a lot of visual images of success and like all the things you should be. And like, and a lot of limiting labels out there too about what is, if you're this, you're not this. Right. And I think it's such a beautiful work to see you showcasing that, I am where I'm at, but wow, we've been through some stuff and it's okay to be successful and go through stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
They don't have to be separate.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, you should expect
that
if you want success, that you're going to stand in the fire.
Right. Yes.
I mean, you just should, right? I mean, no one would willfully choose abuse or divorce or doing these no one wants to go through that stuff, but following you and your journey is beautiful. Your story of humanity is beautiful, but it doesn't happen unless you go through hard stuff, right?
Right.
So, a term that my wife says often, we joke, together about our culture and we are LDS, but we often hear the term, the plan of happiness, and we will joke about that, but she feels strongly about it. When she goes to her practice and sits with people and they talk, she hears this term every day. I just expected more to be happy.
Yeah. Well,
I was always taught the plan of happiness.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But her response to those people is, can we just work on shifting it to the plan of humanness?
Yes, right.
We signed up for humanness.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And you can't get to a place in life where you feel empowered and strong and be in a spot where you feel confident living in your own skin unless you have scaffolded resilience. It just doesn't exist.
And scaffolded resilience becomes joy. And that is the plan of joy, right? Joy is that deep for me, and we could talk again. Like we could just talk for hours about all the things. But for me, that resilience is very intertwined with deep joy. Literally, we always hear that, cliche, the joy is in the journey, right? Like it's not a destination, it's a journey, whatever. And I always think, and then when you really stop to think about what that means, it's 100% true, 100% accurate. The joy is in the acceptance of what is and the learning and the leaning into it, you know, and so that plan of happiness is fleeting, but the plan of joy is real, and love that.
I love that.
Tom, I want to talk to you so much more, but we are like out of time. We're going to have all of my guests. I feel like I have to do part 2 with everybody.
I know. Well, this is such phenomenal. A great dialogue to go into it could go on and on. I mean, it's the fight of our day. Well, let's do it again. Okay. Let's talk more about the fight of our day, because I think this is really important, significant, valuable conversation to have, and important for people to hear other people talking about that openly. Yeah. I think it's beautiful. So for
anybody that wants to get in touch with you, Tom, or learn more about, LEVO, where can we go? LEVO.com?
Yeah, LEVOmind.com is for LEVO. Brainstoke.com is one of the podcasts. The Lift and Make Lighter podcast for just mental health specific information. It puts therapists of all kinds on that podcast. So if you've heard of Jennifer Finlayson Fife or Julie Hanks
No, it's a great podcast. I listen to that podcast.
Yeah. I mean, there's awesome content for people who are trying to think through, man, I'd like to know more clinical knowledge from therapists. Lift and Make Lighter really puts on and features therapists and mental health professionals. So those are all the spots. Obviously on LinkedIn, I always like dialoguing on LinkedIn with anybody.
Yeah. And well, I mean, that's how we met. So I'm just going to put that out there. But it's been so great, Tom, the relationship to build with you little by little over time and follow each other. And it's just been lovely to see your growth. I also want to mention that you are a sponsor of the Promise to Live mental health town halls, which happen every third Thursday at Silicon Slopes. And I want to thank you being on the advisory board for that.
Sure.
For doing that, because I think that is also another touch point of transparency and advocacy. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We love that awesome organization, Brandy Vega, several amazing people there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the toughest part of mental health.
Agreed.
Is when people choose to end it, you know? And so it's near and dear to us for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. So it's my pleasure. Yes. Thank you, Tom. So everybody, if you're listening, please make sure that you check out all of Tom's amazing projects that he's got going on, and definitely connect with him on LinkedIn, and you'll find his content very valuable. So thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refined Resilience. We hope you found inspiration in the stories shared and the small moments that remind us all of our strength. Remember, resilience is built not just in the big challenges we face, but in the everyday experiences that shape who we are. A special thanks to our sponsor, Build Them Bless, for making Refined Resilience possible. Until next time, remember, it's the small moments of resilience that make us great.